going on, everybody? Good to see you again, all of your familiar faces. Thank you so much to all the new people who have joined us this past week for the mission forward to take better photos and learn cool shit about cinematography and photography and whatever. We don't need a purpose, we're just hanging out. First things first, this lens is way too wide, so let's go ahead and change that. Much better. There's something about the wide lens that just makes me feel like I'm 2,000 miles away from you guys. Okay, today's interesting. I'm gonna talk about something that I think is, or was important to me, that could help you guys. That's kind of a cool little story that's come up recently in chats with my buddies, and it's something I think you guys should hear. Secondly, I need to get my hair trimmed. It's a little out of control right now. I'm not cutting it, just taking just the dead ends, so it grows faster. I need to clean my office, and we're gonna introduce a new segment into the vlog today that I think you guys are gonna like. It's gonna be a recurring thing, so it's gonna be a good day. Okay, so an interesting story, a little bit of backstory on Pete here that I think you guys might find interesting, you might relate to. Before I became like a full-time photographer and cinematographer and started making my living this way, I was always bouncing around from job to job, trying to figure out what it was that I wanted to do, how I could incorporate my skills into a job where I felt like I was doing something I loved, but you know, can I make money with photography? Can I make money with cinematography? I don't know. I'm working at Best Buy, I'm working at these retail shops. I was landscaping, I worked on a golf course, I worked at a steakhouse for one day. Could never really figure out what it was that I wanted to do, but I knew that inherently I wanted to do photos and video. I just didn't know like how I could make that happen. It's like, I'm not working in that field yet. How do I crack into that field? How do I start actually making money? I just don't know. In the meantime, I booked a freelance gig with State Farm. I did a bunch of photos and some magic and stuff like that at one of their events. Bunch of shit happened, let's say, fast forward, I ended up working there as like an auto claims assistant, just answering the phone over and over. State Farm Auto Claims, Peter speaking, State Farm Auto Claims. Honestly, it's the worst job I ever had. No offense to the people that work there and love it, it just wasn't for me. My type of personality, my goals and ambitions, what I love to do, were too strong and getting in the way of being happy anywhere else. So the job just wasn't for me. And there's an interesting moment when I think I realized that like, I don't care what happens to me. I've had enough of this place. But I didn't know that was happening inside. So this is what happens, a little bit of backstory. So the fire alarm goes off and they're doing a fire drill and the fire trucks pull up, 2 pull up, 3 pull up. And I thought to myself like, wow, I wonder if the building's actually on fire. And then I thought, I hope the building's actually on fire. Like, please be on fire so that I can go home. And I remember checking Twitter and seeing that like, oh, David Blaine's Dive of Death special is happening in New York right now. And I'm a magician and hobbyist and work for a company that produces magic tricks. And I thought to myself, like, I would so much rather be there right now, involved in something that I'm passionate about, taking photos, exploring New York, instead of standing here in this field looking at State Farm, hoping that it's on fire. This isn't where I want to be. And then they blew the whistle, like we were a bunch of cattle, and everyone started just single file marching back into the building. And I remember being closer to the back and thinking to myself, I can't go back in there right now. Like, everyone was just marching in a row, single file back into this building, back to the cubicle where I would just sit and answer phones, surrounded by people who would complain and were just not good influences on me at the time for positivity and stuff like that. So I just turned to the supervisor and was like, I don't feel well. I thought the fresh air might help, but it's not. Can I go home? I don't feel well. She was like, sure, yeah, no problem, take the day. Got in my car and I called my cousin and I was like, Matt, what are you doing right now? Nothing. I'm like, what are you doing for the next 2 days? And he's like, I don't know. Like, and at this time, I think he just graduated or just got out of high school, was just getting into high school. He was a young kid. So it was maybe summertime or something for him. And he's like, nothing. And I was like, let's go to New York right now. What? I'm like, yeah. Where are we gonna stay? I'm like, doesn't matter, who cares? Let's just go. I just checked flights out of Buffalo, because we're from Toronto, so flights out of Buffalo are like $90 to get to New York. Let's just drive to Buffalo, fly to New York, and figure it out. So he was cool. We put his stuff in a duffel bag, I put my stuff in a backpack, he threw it in the back of my little Mazda Protege, and we drove to Buffalo, parked it overnight for a couple days, and we flew to New York City. And within 5 hours of standing out on the field of State Farm, overlooking the building, thinking to myself, I don't want to be here, I was in Times Square taking photos. had New York pizza for the first time, explored the city, got to meet David Blaine, a bunch of people, made my ins with a lot of the people that I'm friends with now in the industry, took amazing shots, had a great time with my cousin. I called in sick every single day I was there. I think we were there for like 3 days and I just called in sick. Got lost in the subway, but it was super awesome. It was a moment that I'll never forget. And that was a big stepping stone in me, unknowingly at the time, like taking a big step towards doing what I want to do for a living. Get back to work on the Monday and she's like, hey, Peter, I hope you're feeling better. Like, we just need to talk to you down the hall about some stuff. I was like, that's weird, like some stuff. I walk into this conference room, there's an HR woman sitting at the end of the table. And right when I saw her, I knew I was being fired. So she slides this folder towards me, like I'm being interrogated by Jack Bauer at CTU. And there's like a dossier filled with like my known associates. And I open it up and there's pictures of me and David Blaine and different people and in New York. I met Donald Trump, I was on TV. It was crazy, and I opened it up and it was all in these like printed photos. And they found my blog at the time where I'd posted photos of it. I didn't know that they knew I had a blog, you know, whatever. And she's like, what is all that? Like, I don't know, looks like you guys printed off my blog. Thanks for the support. And they're like, you were supposed to be sick these days. How were you in New York City? I think I said something like, I don't know, I was still sick. I was just further south. Something stupid like that. And right then they were like, effective immediately, your employment with State Farm is terminated. And most people would be like, no, like I need that, what am I gonna do? And there was a little bit of that. I was like, oh, my parents are gonna be pissed and like, crap, like I don't have a job now. There wasn't a whole lot of pressure, but I just remember being like, yes, you guys did it for me. Because a lot of the times it's easy to get stuck in a job and be like, nah, I'm good, I'm happy, I'm comfortable, I'm making good money, like, I'm good. But being fired from State Farm really like propelled me to be like, wow, I just got fired pursuing the two things I love most in the world. I left this job during the week to go take photos and do magic with people in New York City. And those are the two things I do now for a living. But at the time I wasn't, and I just got fired from my job pursuing those interests. I'm not saying quit your job and go do what you want, because it might not work out like it did for me. Everyone's different, everyone's story is different. But for me, that was a big moment in like taking the next step in the right direction towards becoming an artist and fulfilling my own desire to do what I wanted to do for a living, instead of just following that classic path that's just like climb the corporate ladder, stability, cubicle, like that lineup back into the building. I just know that's not for me. And that story came up today and I just thought, you know, for the people out there that are wanting to make photography and video a living, or your art's a living, don't be afraid to take the next step in making that a reality, because chances are if you already feel that way, that's what you need to be doing. It's just a matter of how you get there, and that's how I got here. So with that being said, I have a lot of shit that I need to clean. Like, the amount of stuff that I need to clean right now it's everywhere. Okay, quick hack you guys are gonna love, using lens caps. The back cap of a lens and the body cap of a body, they fit together perfectly. This is an old trick. So what I do is I actually keep all my SD cards and micro SD cards that I don't have room anywhere else for, in the little converters, inside these caps. And I toss that in my camera bag. And then they're never gonna fall out, never gonna lose them. They're perfectly in there. Good little hack, so. Holy shit, it's snowing like crazy outside. When did that happen? Quick montage of the snow. This just came out of nowhere. Anyway, I think I'm gonna go get my actual camera and shoot some good slow-mo of this. The snowflakes are just too good. I'll be right back. I'm gonna wrap this walk up. My hands are numb. Gotta get my hair cut soon. And my dog is completely soaked. Completely soaked. I'd like to introduce to you guys a new segment of the show I'm going to be calling Stupid Places to Mount My GoPro. This is the first one.
Don't let them go to waste. Look into my eyes, it's gonna be right. Tomorrow's gonna be okay. One moment, one shot. Oh, that's all we got. One moment, one shot. That's all we got.
Pretty stupid.